GT4 Australia is putting on an amazing show. 31 cars entered for the opening round of a brand new championship. Cannot wait to see how this plays out. For comparison, this time last year, 17 on the grid. This is going to be something really special. Welcome back to the Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. As our coverage of the Shannon Speed Series continues. If you're joining us for the first time today, this is excitement central here in the commentary box because we cannot wait to see how this plays out. Richard Crale and the racer Thomas Randall alongside me for this. T. Randall, welcome to you, my friend. 31 cars. I hope you can pick one from the other because this is going to be huge.
It is. Good morning, Kralesy. Good morning, everyone. What a lovely event we have here down at the Shannon Speed Series, round one of the Speed Series at Phillip Island. The weather has really turned it on so far today, and 31 cars, like you touched on, Kralesy. A year ago, there were 17, so it's really been a massive turnout this weekend, and this category has really just grown from strength to strength, hasn't it? You know, we have so many manufacturers here this weekend. We've got Audis, BMWs, Fords, McLarens, Ginettas, Toyota Supras. It's pretty action-packed. And
some cars we've never seen in Monochrome GT4 Australia, including this, the Audi R8, which makes its debut driven at the moment by Blake Purdy, the young South Australian who's come out of open wheel racing. You raced Blake in S5000 wings and slicks cars, so he's a talented young guy, and this is a really exciting car. V10 power. It's a scaled down version, I suppose, of the R8 GT3, the LMS that we're going to see in about half an hour's time when GT World Challenge Oz rolls out. So qualifying for Monochrome GT4, how does it work? Well, there's two 10-minute sessions. Short, sharp, get your lap in early and hope that you don't get any delays, because otherwise you might be starting way back around the corner coming on to Gardner Straight. The grid for race one is decided by this qualifying session. If you're running two drivers, you will then change them. Qualifying two will then set the grid for race two on Sunday. So we get it all done now, and then it's on to the racing. And then, of course, two 1 hour races over the course of the weekend. Compulsory pit stop in the middle, and that'll all play out. And we'll have three classes to talk about: Silver, Silver Am, and the Am Class 2. So we'll keep you up to speed with where the various pace setters are in each category. There's lots of cars to follow, lots of things to jump around, and we'll tell the story of how these qualifying sessions roll out. But Tommy, there's 3.5 minutes gone in the session. No one set a lap time yet.
No, they haven't. I was about to say that explanation, did that take 3.5 minutes?
It did.
No, with only 6.5 minutes to go, you could just see when we were following Blake Purdy, which the only Audi GT4 in the field as well, Kralesy, and that was the pace setter yesterday with a low 134, which is pretty fast around here in the silver category, and we could see just really trying to get some front tyre temp. That's really the hardest thing around here. It looks like maybe some debris actually off the exit of turn 11 there, but with 31 cars here, trying to find a clean lap, and when you've only got 6.5 minutes to go, or 6 minutes to go now, you really have to put that lap together, because if you make a mistake and there is a red that's thrown, it makes it extremely challenging for a really good grid position.
12 months ago, this was the venue for the Aussie debut of the Ford Mustang GT4, and it came at a massive event for Ford here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit. Well, there was a massive event for Ford yesterday as they celebrated their 100th anniversary, and a long-term tie-up, of course, with the Geelong Football Club, who had a win last night as well. So it's all coming up for Fords. The reason I talk about that is that the qualifying record is held by a Ford Mustang. Rylan Gray, 12 months ago in the high 1:34s, but such is the pace of development by these teams and drivers over the course of 12 months. Yesterday, they were 8/10 quicker already in practice. So could we see someone in the 33s today for a pole position? You're going to have to be in the 34s to do the job, that's for sure.
100%, as we're just following Aaron Seaton there, who is in one of four of the Ford GT4s with the purple sector one at the moment, but still just under 5 minutes to go. Practice 2 yesterday, Kralesy, which was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, low 134s. Now, it is absolutely optimal temperature and conditions right now. 11 o'clock in the morning, about 17 degrees. A little bit of a crosswind on the straight, so this is sort of prime conditions for these cars.
This is if your engineer rings you up and says, what conditions would you like, Tom, for qualifying? This is what you order, isn't it? Cool ambient, track temp with a bit of UV in it. There's some bright sunshine on it at the moment. Not a massive headwind going down into turn one, so it doesn't suck straight line performance out of your car. If you've got turbocharging as well, you're going to be very, very happy. You get a little bit more free boost with the cool ambient. And Aaron Seaton has just gone quickest. Well, we thought you're going to have to be in the 34s, so 1 minute 34.7 for the Gomersal Motorsport car. Nash Morris goes second for TechWorks in the Porsche. So Aaron Seaton in silver and Morris in silver. They're your respective pole sitters in the class. Look, Dalton goes to fourth outright at the moment. Tom Heyman on a lap in the McLaren Artura GT4 for Method Motorsport.
Just gone purple in that first sector as well. So the track's just getting quicker and quicker as this Pirelli rubber just gets on the track with these cars. It's just going to light up as we go with the rest of the session. And then, as you said, Crailsey, after this, we've got another 10-minute session. That's a massive moment there for Heyman out of Siberia as he's set that first sector purple. That might upset that run all the way down the back straight, because pretty much from the exit of Siberia, you are flat out all the way through the hay shed up until you brake here into Lukey Heights. And then it's so important here, Crailsey, to nail the braking zone. You're braking down a hill, and with this resurfacing, it's actually quite bumpy over Lukey Heights into MG. So he's managed to navigate turn 10 or MG very well. Still purple middle sector, purple accumulative as well. So let's just follow Tom Heyman here around the final corner, getting a nice little slipstream as well too behind Aaron Seaton as he's about to cross the line.
And the Mustang punches a pretty big hole in the air too relative to the McLaren. Seaton went quicker. Heyman 33.6. Incredible lap from the McLaren. It's almost a second and a half quicker than the qualifying record here. Blake Purdy went to second, and second of the silver cars as well. So the Audi on the front row of the grid. Seaton shuffled back to third outright. Now fourth as Morris goes third in the Porsche. Morecambe up to fifth and fourth in the silver class. Times tumbling. Cameron Crick in the D.A. Campbell Transport Mustang. Ryland Gray goes to fourth. Pole sitter here last year at a 34.3.
Now we see Jared Hughes is in the lane, down in 22nd, and that car yesterday in practice, Crailsey, was third fastest. So I don't know whether that Mercedes has got an issue, because there's only 2 minutes left in the session, and it's just gone red flag as well.
Oh, wow. Well, that kills their session. Jared Hughes, who's such a bright, bubbly character and a really cool ambassador, and it's good to have 888 Race Engineering in the championship this year in the Mercedes AMG. So the red flag flies with Tom Heyman at a 1 minute 33.67. Huge lap time from the McLaren. But how's the diversity at the top of the field? McLaren, Audi, Porsche, Ford, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Aaron Seaton currently provisional pole in silver AM. Jamie Augustine just squeezed a lap in, I think, before the red flag in one of the Randall Racing BMW M4s to go across the line in 16th outright, leading the AM class. Just bumped Chris Lillis back to second in AM. And that's a cool story as well, because this is a debut for Chris in the Porsche. And we're being told from Motorsport Australia Race Control that this session will not resume. So there's a couple of cars well out of position, Tom, at the end of that one. And the obvious one is Jared Hughes down in 22nd outright and last of the silver class cars.
Yeah, that's a big story there, Crailsey. They were in the top three yesterday in practice, the leading Mercedes GT4 as well. So they were red hot for a good qualifying position, and they were in the pits here with 2.5 minutes to go. So I don't know whether maybe he's reported an issue, or you want to be out on the track by then, get some temp in these tyres, and that's really going to cost them, down in 22nd position. But excellent performance from Tom Heyman in that McLaren. Those two were trading times. A bit of damage on the back of that Money Me Mercedes, whether or not that was the cause of our red flag, and he's managed to get it out. Looks like he's obviously made contact with potentially a tyre barrier. Not quite sure where, but that rear wing might be looking like it's got a little bit too much aero as well.
I was going to say, you don't generally run that much rear downforce at this place. You're searching for straight line speed. That's Mark Griffith. 3 cars in that outfit this year, all of them looking absolutely sensational. But I wonder if that answers our question as to the red flag. Quite a bit of damage on the back of that. So as qualifying one ends, the 10-minute window rolls to a stop and the checkered flag officially flies. Tom Heyman will take pole position for race 1, top of the silver class as well. Great lap 2, comfortably a qualifying record for Monochrome GT4. Blake Purdy, what a debut for the Audi. Porsche and Ford on the second row of the grid make it 4 brands in the top 4. Aaron Seaton on pole in Silver Am in race 1. Cameron Crick second in class and Lockie Dalton in third. Special shout out for Daniel Frugas in Silver Am there. And pole position in the Am class goes the way of the BMW of Jamie Augustine. We'll be back qualifying 2 coming your way shortly here at the Shannon Speed Series. What a great performance it was from that car, Tom Randall. Daniel Frugas behind the wheel of the Garth Walden Racing Toyota Supra. Great to have the Toyotas here in Monochrome GT4 odds for the first time. Fortunate enough to see the Race Lab boys in New Zealand run them at the GT New Zealand Championship over summer. And as the season got on, they got really competitive in GT4, and they were racing with Will Exton in a McLaren and were very competitive with it, with guys like Caleb Nato driving. So they're going to be a really interesting package. GWR run a good race team. You've got prize with them, and it's cool to have Tim Berryman back as well, a former open wheel racer who's making a little bit of a comeback this year. Yeah,
it is great. You can just see Garth on the side there looking over, watching on with the brand new Toyota Supra GT4. There's Sam Scafidi talking to his fast man in the McLaren, and I think they're pretty happy with the performance there. So now driver change for that mob. And back to the Supra, I actually saw them run that at SMP a couple of weeks ago, their debut run, just testing the car. And I tell you what, it is a beautiful bit of kit looking inside the cockpit. And we all know in 2026, the Supra will be making its debut in the Supercars Championship as well, which is quite exciting.
Very great to see GR Racing Australia just continuing to expand, and there are quite a few people here in the Toyota branded vests and jackets getting around, so it's great to see that manufacturer support for their customer racing teams. There's a bunch of that going on. Let's look inside one of the McLaren Arturas. I love that little chat. We just caught a little bit there with Sam Scafidi going, do you want to change anything? And Tommy was like, no, it's good. I've just done a 33.6 at Phillip Island in a GT4 car. Whacked the thing on pole by 2/10. Thank you very much.
What do they say? If it ain't broke,
don't fix it. Correct. And the variety is fantastic too. So Blake Purdy second. That's a huge performance by those guys in the Audi. Nash Morris third. Zoe Woods will take over the TechWorks Porsche. Rylan Gray in the Lubramax Smedeke Motorsport Ford Mustang in fourth place. Pole position car from 12 months ago, and they had such a great season last year, and the fleet of Mustangs has grown exponentially in Monochrome GT4. The Medeke's busy. They're good car dealers from Port Macquarie, so they're pretty good at selling and moving some nice cars, and they've sold a few into GT4 Australia, which is great to see.
And we've got the dark horse, the GT here as well, which I think might be seeing that on track later today.
Do you get one of those as a company car, or do you roll the Ranger option? I see you in a Ranger more than a Mustang.
Yeah, I'm more of a Raptor guy, so I find it quite practical. So yeah.
That's the scene at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Beautiful conditions. Pretty wild and woolly night in this part of the world last night. Lots of rain and some heavy winds, but right now it's a picture Chris Stubbs, and there's plenty going on in a very busy pit lane for Monochrome GT4 Australia.
All right, Tom Heyman, that was outrageously fast. A 1:33.6. Congratulations, pole position. Talk us through that lap.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice lap, to be honest. It wasn't anything too sketchy. So, no, the car's pretty hooked up right now, and we'll see how Maxi goes in qualifying too. Hopefully we can repeat it.
Talk to us about Max, young guy on the rise, much like you. What's the message? What was the feedback to him after that session?
Just basically said, car's hooked up, mate, go for it. So, yeah, he's fast, as everyone knows. He's only been racing for a couple of years, and he's already impressed the team a lot. So, hopefully he can go out and put it on pole.
What's the McLaren doing well this time around, do you think? Because that's a big improvement on last year.
Yeah, I think obviously we spent the whole of last year just sort of learning the car. We only got the cars in January last year, so first 12 months was pretty hard figuring out what the car does. So we're just sort of perfecting everything this year and just making the cars faster.
Team boss Chaz Mostert happy?
I'd say so. I haven't seen him yet, but I'm sure I'll get a high five.
Go and find him.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm joined alongside Blake Purdy. You finished second there, Blake. What a outing for you. How did that feel?
It was such a short qualifying session. Like,
I don't even think the stickers came off the tyres when I did my lap. So yeah, it was just a matter of like getting as much temp into them as possible. I think if I got the rest of the session, I probably could have challenged for pole a bit more, but yeah, it is what it is.
And how was the car feeling out there?
It felt great. We got it dialed in yesterday, and we pretty much just left it for today. Like, we had confidence that it was going to challenge for pole, so yeah, I don't think we'll change it again. It's a good race car, so.
Well done and good luck later on.
Thank you.
Thanks to Chris and Bella down in pit lane. I love Blake Purdy's line saying, I barely got the stickers off the new rubber. So they are short, sharp qualifying sessions. And I kind of like it, Tom, because it just adds to that level of intensity. You have to go out and you have to nail a lap time straight away.
Yeah, the pressure's on, isn't it? I mean, when you have that 10-minute session and when we were talking with about 6.5 minutes to go, Blake was still warming his front tyres. So you don't have a lot of time around here. It's 1.5 minutes, roughly 93-second lap. So you only get, well, 4 laps in that session prior to the red flag. So like we touched on before, it's so important to get that tyre temperature up, which Blake said he reckons the stickers are still on it, which that might be good for the race, hanging onto those tyres, but it's just so important to really lock in and just try and maximise the time you have, because if you don't bank the lap, which is what we saw with a few of the cars that didn't get a lap time in, and they're all the way down the field. I mean, Jared Hughes, great example. He's in the pits. We're not quite sure why that is yet, but that's going to cost him a lot for the first race this afternoon.
So, different drivers in most of the cars. It's busy in pit lane. It's Nathan Murray in the Morris Finance entry. Cool to have Nathan back here. A little bit of Porsche Sprint Challenge racing for a time. He's also a big Geelong Cats supporter, so he would have had an enjoyable night last night watching them get up over Melbourne down at Cardinia Park. And this is McElrea Racing's first foray into GT4 racing as well with the BMW. Laurie Schmidt on right of screen there, a long-standing senior official at Motorsport Australia. We thank all of our volunteers here. They were here bright and early in the dark this morning. Tommy, it takes hundreds of volunteers to put on race meetings like that, and we couldn't get to do this, and our drivers couldn't get to do what they're doing on screen now without them. So we say thank you to all of the volunteer officials around this great racetrack and braving the typical Phillip Island wind chill factor. The temperature's just ticked over to 15 degrees, but take about 10 out of that in wind chill and you get a more realistic look at it as we roll out for qualifying 2.
It's a great view down into Turn 1 with Bass Strait, but it leaves it open to being extremely windy, and like you said, we couldn't do it without all the Motorsport Australia officials and the Victorian flag marshalling team as well, and everyone from PIARC that make this event happen. Shannon Speed Series, I mean, the drivers need the marshals and vice versa. So, but it's incredible when you talk to everyone how passionate they are about motorsport, and it only feels like yesterday that I did my day down at Sandown flagging, and it was just great to see the passion, and got a bit of pumpkin soup, which was nice.
Oh, nice.
Cold.
Where did they put you at Sandown?
Turn 1, actually.
Oh, that's a good spot.
Yeah.
You would have got a bit of practice down there too. It's a bit of an action zone at that part of the world. Oh, very nice. So, qualifying 2 sets the grid for race 2, and those running 2 driver combinations, which is all bar 8 entries in the field this weekend. Now will have put their second driver in, but there's some interesting strategies that play out, Tom, because you can nominate which driver goes where in many cases, especially if you're in a silver class or an AM class car. So you can hedge your bets a little bit and make sure that your qualifying position for both races is as good as it can be. If you've got a big delta between your 2 drivers, you might be a long way down the field in one, but right up the front in race 2 perhaps. But the goal here is to get your car somewhere near the front in both of them. So if you're Blake Purdy, you're waiting on young Daniel Price, who's his co-driver now in the Nippies Audi, to see where he ends up. And your idea is that if you're in the 10 in both races, you're going to be in very good shape at the end of a Monochrome GT4 weekend. So that will be part of the story we're following. The other I'm really interested to follow among all of them in this field, it's all very interesting, is Max Gagan, who makes his debut in that Method Motorsport McLaren, reigning champion in the GR86 Championship here in Australia, famous, iconic racing surname in this part of the world, one of the great racing families of our sport, and I'm really excited to see what he can do in his first foray in GT racing.
Not only that, he's in a very quick car, as we've just been shown as well by Tom Heyman, and it kind of looks like we're racing out there at the moment, doesn't it, Crailsey? Everyone's vying for some sort of clear air or track position, so everyone's, no one's playing for sheep stations at the moment as we are following Gagan. And just touching on what you spoke about before, Crailsey, with the driver combinations and how you can nominate which one between qualifying 1 and qualifying 2. Cody Bircher and Tim Lay's a great example. So Bircher's out there at the moment, current Super 2 driver, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes in these 2 quick fire 10-minute sessions, 7 minutes to go, just under 7 minutes to go in this session. And it's going to be a very similar story, you know, trying to get that tyre temperature up, trying to get a banker lap in, because if there is a late red flag and you're not with a banker time, it can mean such a big thing leading into tomorrow's race, which is what this qualifying will set the grid for.
The other little disappointing bit of news that we should touch on now before we get some representative lap times is that unfortunately we've lost the McLaren 570 of Anthony Sewell and Grant Denyer, which is a massive shame. So that car had quite a heavy fire in testing at Sydney Motorsport Park, and they got it back together, and they've had some electrical issues in that car, and they could not get it to fire today, unfortunately. So they've elected to pack it up, take some time, get it back to Sydney, go through the car with a fine-tooth comb and get it ready for round 2 of the championship at Sydney Motorsport Park in May. But that's a massive shame, because both Sully and Grant had big smiles on their faces to be back at the racetrack, but they're locked in for the full season, so we will see them back as the year goes on. Tim Berryman just jumping out of the way of Cody Bircher. You talked about the Central West Prestige BMW as it heads down under yellow flags flying down at Honda.
Maybe gone wide down there, off the brake, which that might be a little bit hard to do in these cars, locking a brake.
Get the ABS cranked on. Can dial them back. It depends on the level of experience. The pro drivers, for lack of a better term, often like having the ABS interference set very, very low in the car so they can modulate the pedal a little bit more. But the ABS is there for the less experienced drivers, the AMs in the field. So you can just mash that middle pedal and the car will stop without that risk of locking a tyre. But they're generally accepted that you'll go quicker with the ABS turned off or right down.
Yeah, in conditions like this, Crailsey, where the track is super fast, I mean, we just saw mid-133s in the previous session, you're going to have the traction control and the ABS turn relatively fair way down, because as a driver, you want to try and feel it the best you can through your pedals and the steering wheel, and you kind of want to have not too much intervention from those systems. You know, if you have a bit of a slide off one of the corners, that's something that you would probably rather control, so that the ignition cut doesn't come in and you lose that momentum. And this track is all about momentum.
Tell you what, we talked about the Audi wanting to back up Blake Purdy's lap. Well, Price has done a 34.47. That's a very, very good lap time. George Miedecke's on a lap at the moment in the Lubrimax Mustang. Max Gagan went second. Miedecke goes to the top comfortably by 3/10 at a 34.1. So remember, his co-driver Ryland Gray was fourth, both in outright and in silver in qualifying 1. That's a great lap time from George Miedecke, who goes to the top. Price second for the Audi, Max Gagan third, and Zoe Woods in 4th place. So the same top 4 cars at the moment, locking out the top 4 spots.
Just in a slightly different arrangement at the moment.
Which is what we like, a bit of variety at the front of the field, but we're getting a little form guide already in how this championship's going to play out. Adam Wallace, the South Australian, on top in silver AM, and he's in 8th position outright in that family race team with the Wallace family. There are 2 of them racing here. 3 of them will do the Bathurst 6 Hour in a couple of weeks in a production car, which is going to be great fun. Valentino Astudillo's just gone 9th outright in the Ginetta with a 36.1. Nathan Callahan leading the way in the 777 Porsche in the AM class, 13th outright, sharing that car with Chris Lillis. Still a bit to come, you feel, in this session. Max Gagan on an improved lap. That's the second of the Method Motorsport cars. How's the traffic across the line? Wow. Price across the line. Gagan again, no improvement.
It's always challenging starting your lap, having to overtake someone in turn 1. As we follow George Miedecke, he won't be going quicker on this lap, but that 134.1 that he did set, he's about 3.5 tenths clear of second place, so 2.5 minutes to go. Not sure whether he will get much more out of those tyres, but Camilleri has just set a personal best sector 1, and Cody Bircher now 28.8 in the first sector, so only about a 1/10 and a half off the fastest first sector time, so it'll be interesting to see how he progresses on the rest of this lap.
Can pick the classes with our timing totem. The colour reflects the class of the car as well. So George Miedeke on top. Silver class cars 1 through 7 on the leaderboard. Adam Wallace leading the way in silver AM. And then Nathan Callahan, 13th outright car. 777, that's the Porsche on top in the AM class at the moment. As we follow George Miedeke, his legendary father Andrew is still very much involved in this racing program. Dusted off the old Formula Atlantic car. It literally took it off the wall of the dealership, rebuilt it, took it over to New Zealand over summer and ran it at Taupo at the historic GP over there at a terrific weekend. Great to see Andy still driving, George doing a great job, and they've put together a really good program there at Miedeke Motorsport. Young Ryland Gray, who's hugely rated in the Ford system, I know. It's an exciting combination. Cody Bircher up to 6th place in the BMW.
And George coming in now. So he actually just set his fastest first sector, but maybe realised halfway through the lap that the rear tyres had enough. And you generally know as a driver when you're starting to lose grip. So I'd say with a minute to go on the clock, he's called it for the session. Still got a nice or comfortable buffer over second place, which is Daniel Price in that Audi, so those two have sort of traded places.
Yeah, Daniel Price and Blake Purdy, they're looking real dark horse, and that is a big impact. Exit of the final corner, it's Wallace in the Warren Mining Ford Mustang GT4, 8th outright and leading the silver AM class, and that has had a massive impact. The red flag flies in qualifying, only 30 seconds to go in the session. We've seen this here before, Tom. It's easy to do, to get it wide on the exit of that very fast turn 12, coming onto the Wayne Gardner straight, and he's made a hefty impact to the inside left wall.
Yeah, let's hope he's okay. It looks like he's probably, like you said, dropped a wheel on the last corner, come back across the inside and made contact. You can just see probably in front of that tyre wall. I don't know whether he's missed the tyre wall, but yeah, it's a heavy impact on the front of that car. So yeah, let's hope he's okay. And yeah, what a real shame to the end of that qualifying session, because that will be the end of the session. The clock has counted down to 0 now. So George Miedeke taking out pole position for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, and backing up that effort from Ryland Gray in qualifying 1. So the Lubramax Mustang is going to be towards the front of the field. One of red flag conditions, but the session draws to a close in Monochrome GT4. Miedeke on top with a 1 minute 34.1. The Audi looking super strong. Daniel Price backing up that effort from Blake Purdy, front row for both races. Max Gagan, outstanding for Method Motorsport. Then Zoe Woods in 4th place. Jake Camilleri next. Cody Bircher was 6th. And Lockie Hennock in 7th place in the number 24 McLaren. Jed Wallace on top in the Silver AM class in the 62 Ford Mustang, but with that big impact at the end, Valentino Rossi puts another brand inside the top 10 in the Ginetta. And then Dean Campbell, who shares with Cam Crick, 10th outright. On debut in Monochrome GT4, the AM class pole goes the way of Nathan Callahan in the Porsche. Well done to those guys with Chrysalis, 13th outright. Second in that class, Jacob Lawrence, and Joni Aratoon in the Mercedes AMG. 16th outright in qualifying for Monochrome GT4 Australia. So both grids for both races now locked and loaded and ready to go. And we turn our attention to 2 races. They race this afternoon for an hour. And it's great to see driver out of the Ford Mustang. They've got plenty of parts here, so hopefully they can get this car patched back together for race 1 this afternoon or the race tomorrow if we need to. So, 2 fascinating sessions, a massive field in Monochrome GT4 Australia, and so much variety throughout this. Ford, Audi, Mercedes, McLaren and Porsche in the top 5. W in the mix as well, and a Ginetta inside the top 10. We're building up to GT World Challenge powered by AWS qualifying coming your way very, very soon. So you're in the great state of Victoria. There's so much to see and do in this part of the world. This has been a Tommy Randall style. We'll get on the bike. He'll go camping. He'll enjoy it. Back with more from the island soon.